X's family never liked me. I could not tell you why. But from day one, I felt like an outsider. They were so cold I thought I'd offended them somehow. Skip ahead a bit and I get pregnant. Suddenly, they love me. Boyfriend's sister wants to get coffee. His mother wants to go shopping. I am very much part of the family. Then, boyfriend's brother claims he's the father. Nothing has ever happened between us, except maybe in his imagination. Boyfriend doesn't believe me, asks for a DNA test. Fine, I say, set up the test, and I'll comply. But duck you if you think I could have ever cheated on you, especially with your brother. 2 days before the DNA test, I arrive home and all of my boyfriend's things are gone. I show up for the test regardless. He never shows. The test doesn't happen. Boyfriend emails the day after the test, saying he won't take it because he knows what I did, and he can't even forgive me or look at me, or my child, ever again. The tone reads like he's having some sort of episode, so I call his family. His brother, not the liar, says boyfriend is staying with him until he gets his own place, and I need to leave the whole family the duck alone. I tell him it isn't true, and I showed for the DNA test. He says that boyfriend says me showing up for the test makes me guilty. At this stage, I figure it's a toss-up if my boyfriend actually thinks I cheated, or if he just wanted an easy way out of being a parent. So I decided to do as the other brother says, and leave the whole family the duck alone. Skip ahead some more, and me and my 11-month-old son are doing great. I got a message from X's mother around the birth, asking if she can meet the baby, because whichever man is the father, that's still her grandchild. I blocked her. A few more months go by, and I get a phone call asking to meet the baby with no dig about the dad this time. I tell her that 2 of her 3 sons advised me to leave their family the duck alone, so I'd rather do that. I block her number. Now I get this letter. She says she doesn't care what went down with her sons. She cares about her grandson, and the next step is on me. I now feel like the bad guy. I don't know what to do. I still have no clue what the first brother was doing because we never had so much as a conversation until after I was pregnant, and the family seemed off at first. But she seems to care about my kid, her grandchild. I have a new boyfriend who says it would be nice to give it a shot, as my family aren't involved. But I don't know how good an idea it is, as my ex clearly doesn't want to be involved, and the whole family are wishy-washy. The mother also suggested that for the first meeting, I come by on Mother's Day, which is when I would expect her to be with her kids, so I'm worried about an ambush. Can I get some objective third-party perspective advice on this? What should I do? I'm going to be blunt. Him and his family sound like a bunch of dumb ducks. Sorry you have to go through this. Sounds like he's trying to escape his responsibilities. If you showed up to defend yourself from baseless accusations, how does that make you guilty? Maybe you dodged a bullet. They sound like a family from hell. How was he before all of this went down? I also think he's just trying to escape it, which is weird to me, as I was prepared to terminate and asked for his input, and he was the one who asked me not to because he wanted to have a baby with me. According to the other brother, my ex said that because I had shown up to the test, that was proof that I wasn't sure who the father was, and that if he really was the father, I would have refused the test on principle. Before all of this went down, he was a pretty average boyfriend. It wasn't like he was sweeping me off my feet on a daily basis, but we were content. And when we found out I was pregnant, we were at a place in our relationship where we felt we could bring a baby in. He actually proposed while I was pregnant, but the proposal was a lot earlier than we had planned, and he was talking about getting married before the birth. So I was worried he was proposing solely because I was pregnant, not because he actually wanted to marry me. So I said I would marry him in a heartbeat, but I would prefer if he waited until after the baby was born and asked me again, which he said was fine by him. So before anyone points it out, I am completely aware of the rule, don't lend money you aren't prepared to lose. This isn't so much about the money as it is about the lying. My best friend, Kate, and I have been friends for a few years, and she was one of the first friends I made when I moved to a new city. We were nearly inseparable, spending nearly every day after work together. We were even briefly roommates for a while when she was dealing with some family issues. Kate can be a little unreliable at times, but I wouldn't say it's ever been a problem, beyond the typical friendship problems of girls in their early 20s. Anyway, I recently moved away from her city to be closer to family while dealing with some medical issues. About a month or 2 after the move, Kate informed me she was pregnant. I was shocked to say the least. I had been trying for a baby about a year prior, and she had been very vocal about her views against having a baby of her own. I was financially stable, nice job, great apartment, etc., while she was still going to school, living with her parents, and working part-time. She just wasn't ready for a baby, which is completely understandable. So when she told me she was pregnant, I had about a million questions. I didn't even know she was seeing anyone that serious. Turns out, she had been seeing this guy for less than 5 months. Don't remember the exact length of time, but that's beside the point. And unexpectedly got pregnant. Her younger sister had previously gotten pregnant, which divided her family on the issue, so Kate was understandably concerned about what to do. Despite that, she was 100% sure she did not want to keep the baby. She wasn't ready. I supported her decision 100% and told her that whatever she decided was best, I'd support it. I ended up going to visit to talk about her plan. She had an ultrasound done and scheduled the appointment for the A. She was right around the point in the pregnancy where if she waited too much longer, the termination would have gone up in price due to the surgical treatment being needed because of how far along she was. After thinking about it for a couple days, I offered to lend her the amount she was short of. I'd like to make it clear that she never once asked for any money. We discussed it and I gave her a few $100s for the appointment the following week. I would have gone with her to the appointment, but I had to get back to my own home out of state. Flash forward a few days ago, and guess who posts some maternity photo on Facebook? That's right, Kate. Now, we've talked here and there since the last visit and tried to have little mini vacations together, but our schedules simply never allowed for that since. She never mentioned her decision to continue the pregnancy through any of this. I congratulated her on the pregnancy, and soon after she messaged me privately to explain what happened. She said the day of the appointment she just couldn't go through with it and decided to keep the child. She said she was unsure of what to do, so she decided to spend the money I lent her on rent. I received no explanation as to why she didn't at least inform me of her decision. Now, I've been having conflicted feelings about this for the past few days. Kate is one of my best friends, who I absolutely trust, yet I feel she betrayed that trust by lying to me. Since she didn't spend the money on what we specifically discussed, I asked when she would be paying me back, and she did not respond. If she had just said she needed the money for the upcoming newborn, I would have been completely fine with that. But she didn't. She used it on rent, as if I didn't have my own rent to pay, in a much higher cost of living state. I didn't agree to pay her rent for her. I'm at a complete loss of what to do. Is there even anything I can do? I think this post is mostly a rant, as most of the people I've talked to regarding this are biased. But is there anything Reddit can recommend? I realize I very likely just lost my money, but I'm just completely unsure how to deal with the friendship aspect of this. Edit. This was a loan from the start. From the second I handed her the money, she kept saying she would pay me back as soon as she could. She is still saying that, but will not give me any kind of specific date she has in mind. Just as soon as she can. It has always been understood on both sides that this was not gifted, but simply a loan so she could afford the procedure before the price increased. She said she was unsure of what to do, so she decided to spend the money I lent her on rent. She knew exactly what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to return the money you lent her for a specific reason. She simply decided not to do that. There's no confusion there. You can keep asking her for it every time you have contact with her until she either relents or stops answering your calls, texts, emails, etc. But honestly, it is not likely she will ever pay that money back, and she is not your friend if she doesn't agree to pay you back. Neither me nor my husband has ever wanted kids, so we do not have children. My sister Anne, however, has always wanted children, and her husband, Bob, have 2 kids. I love my niece and nephew, and have always been very close to my sister's family. My sister and her husband have struggled financially over the years, so I've tried to help support them the best I can. I babysit at least twice a month so they can have date nights. I help my sister clean the house when she gets overwhelmed, and my husband often does handyman tasks for them. I also have given them money for diapers, groceries, school activities, and have been contributing to a college fund for the kids. I don't mean to sound like this is a burden, as I love them and happily help out where I can. Well, for December, my sister and her family, me and my husband, and my cousin and her boyfriend had been planning a trip to Costa Rica. We had planned kid-friendly activities, and Anne and Bob seemed to be excited. However, at the last minute, after my cousin had already bought plane tickets, Anne and Bob said they had decided it was too dangerous to bring young kids to Costa Rica, and they were going to do Disneyland, Universal Studios with the kids instead. I disagreed, but her kids, her decision. I told her we would miss them, and my husband and I went on the trip with my cousin and her boyfriend. I had a great time on our vacation, and by all accounts, my sister and her family did too. A couple of weeks ago, my sister had a family gathering at her house. It seemed like a normal family party to me. My niece and nephew told me all about their trip and showed me their mouse ears and Harry Potter wands. I had no idea my sister was upset with me. Later that night, I got an email from Anne. She said she was sick and tired of me getting all the benefits of being a parent without doing all the work. For example, she said it was unfair that my niece and nephew would probably take care of me when I was old, but I never had to stay up all night with them when they were sick, and that I got to laugh and play with them, but never had to make hard choices on discipline or nutrition. She talked about me getting to go on dream vacations, while she had to suffer through crying kids at Disneyland. Basically, she concluded that she was sick of me co-opting the best part of motherhood without the bad parts. As a result, she said she was going to cut off contact with me, and that I am no longer to have any communication with her children. She said if I were to have kids of my own, we could re-establish our relationship. Since then, I have tried calling, texting, and emailing, but have received no response. I am beyond heartbroken. I have no idea what she has told her kids, who I normally talk to several times a week. I have no idea how to solve this. I mean, obviously she is right that she is making sacrifices and doing work I don't have to do. But I feel like cutting me off from her family seems like an extreme choice that is unlike her. I love her and miss her, and am frankly worried about her mental health. What should I do? This probably has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with the fact that she's burnt out on parenting and is feeling the struggle. She's going to feel it even harder when something comes up that you usually helped with, and since you're cut off, they're kind of screwed. She'll be back when they need something, I'd imagine. That is bizarre, but if she won't respond, there isn't much you can do. Outside of the vacation, was there any other sense that something was off with her? Could she be projecting onto you about something else going on in her life? Could you approach her husband about it? Maybe make it clear to the rest of the family that you want to talk it out, but don't push it or ask them to approach her about it. Well, my great-grandfather had 5 children. The 2 oldest, my granduncle and my grandmother, were good people, but sadly died when they were still relatively young. So by the time this story happened, there was only my great-grandfather and his 3 youngest daughters. My great-grandfather was not a good person, and his parenting methods were very questionable, which is why the 3 youngest daughters end up being horrible and entitled people. He was getting old and could no longer take care of himself, but only one of his daughters, Jenny, took care of him, while the other 2 sisters, Lily and Emma, occasionally came to visit him. They always brought him gifts, but the truth is that they avoided as much as possible seeing their father. Lily and Jenny never got along, as their mother made them compete with each other. It is only important to mention that Lily was the favorite. When the great-grandfather turned 91, the doctor reported that he needed to undergo 3 different surgeries. The money was not a problem since the grandfather was a Marine. Given his age and the number of surgeries, no one thought he would survive. So the weekend before the surgery, Lily and Emma took him to dinner and entertained him. They filled him with gifts and even brought a mariachi. The great-grandfather was very happy. Jenny was not invited. The day of the operation arrived, and Jenny was in the hospital with my mother when Lily came to make fun of her sister, insult her, and even told her what she was going to die of. Things got wild between the 2, so much that they started to fight, physically, but were quickly separated. Marines got involved. Lily left after that while Emma stayed to ask questions about how the great-grandfather was. She was acting very suspiciously. My mother thought it was a strange behavior for both of them and asked Jenny if there was anyone in her house. Jenny then left for her house while my mother took care of the great-grandfather. When she arrived, she discovered that someone had entered, forcing the lock, and had taken the great-grandfather's papers, his money, and guns. There was no doubt that Emma and Lily had stolen those things. But there's something they didn't count on. The great-grandfather survived, and not only that, he was as if nothing had happened. My mother is still surprised about how he woke up angry in the hospital, took off his IV, and had to be subdued by 4 male nurses. A funny story when she told it. No one told him anything so it wouldn't affect him, but a week later when he was about to enter his house, Jenny told him. He saw red and called his daughters, demanding that they return his belongings. Reluctantly they did, although not all of them. Papers and money were missing. The great-grandfather later called his lawyer and withdrew them from his will, leaving everything to Jenny. A year later, he died. My mother and I believe that he would have lived longer if it wasn't for the betrayal of his daughters. After this event, his health deteriorated very quickly. And although he was not a good person, it is something that I would not have wished even on my worst enemy. When Lily and Emma found that they were left with nothing, they threw the tantrum of their lives. They still don't get over it for what I know. Jenny still lives in her father's house, and my mom is still in touch with her. Dang. I know you say he wasn't a good person, but at least terrible people were not rewarded in the end. I'm honestly just imagining a bunch of gray-haired grandmothers fighting. And I might be a bad person too, because that image is hilarious.